Hello, this is Sheila Corona with Conscious Conversation Central, and I am back again for the third time this evening with my posse. That's right, I said it. BC Rieger and Lisa Flamino Rush. Ladies.
Hello.
She's got her quantum swagger going.
That's
Yes.
right. Well, and we've
Nice.
also been referred to in the Friends of Conscious Conversation Central as the Three Amigas, by the way. Just thought I'd share that with you. So we're going to, oh yeah, it's still Monday. Oh, well, actually, no, it's not. Very soon it will be Tuesday.
Closing in on Tuesday.
You got 6 minutes. Say it quick.
No, I have to wait 6 minutes before I can say it. But in 6 minutes, it will be Tuesday.
We'll be straddling days. It'll still be Monday over here.
March 6th, 2018. Yes, I did just stick my tongue out at you. Okay, so I'm not playing with my ego, but my inner child just came out.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're playing with get ready, get clear, get the connections. You have to listen. I love the other part of this too, standing up and being ready, not just saying I am ready or declaring that I am ready, but are you ready? Are you ready?
Are you ready? Yeah, so are you all in? Are you standing in? Are you stepping up? And how many times did you do that today? How many times did you do that in the last 30 seconds? What does it feel like?
I know I'm doing it in every moment of now. Lately, well, for the last several months, really.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't like what I see, but that's okay too, because at least I'm turning around and looking at it and questioning and trying to get to the bottom of things.
Mm-hmm. And who, this is maybe a question for both of you, who are you listening to when I'm talking about, are you ready and are you listening?
Who am I listening to? Well, me.
Can you be more specific?
It's hard for me to describe because it's kind of new for me in that I don't really hear things like other folks have reported, or, it's not for me, it's not a conversation. And sometimes I still
What is it?
Huh?
What is it? Don't tell us what it's not. Tell us what it is. And you can just do them. Don't have to think it. You can feel into it. So what does it feel like? What do you sense?
I feel things in my body. I don't really get pictures so much as just packets of like wholesale knowing of something, or
okay, let's play with that for a minute.
Okay.
What does that feel like?
It's just there. It's
so 1 minute you didn't quote unquote know it, and the next minute you did?
No, I think it's always there. Okay, so in this moment of now, I can see very clearly how I think it's always there, but I still tend to second guess in that smarmy little smart ass dancer. tries to come out and
Went from smarmy to smart ass. I noticed.
Programming note, go see other video to meet Smarmy.
I love it.
I'm sorry. I'm tired of that son of a bitch. I really am.
So it's always there. You've always known it, but you didn't know that you knew it before you knew it that you now know it.
Well, it's not only that either. It's also that not trusting thing.
Well,
Which
that's
is getting less and less. For me, it's becoming less, and in other words, the not trusting is dwindling.
right. So it's a combination of things. So you're you're on Gaia, and Gaia is expanding and raising her frequency vibration. So you haven't hopped off. So that's happening to you.
Which is good.
Then you're also self-genesis of those higher frequency vibrations. We've talked about that. So see previous videos. And you're open to it. You're choosing it. You're committed to it. You're claiming it. And you're noticing. So that's all that, right?
Right.
And so what's happening is you're fully flicking the switch back on, the light on. You're letting the light on. You know, so you could say, well, you're people say, well, as you raise your energy, frequency, vibration, you're letting in more light. Well, yeah, because you're the one who turns the flipping switch on, right?
Right.
It's an inside job.
Yes.
You know, it's like you got to go turn the switch on. And the switch has always been powered. You always had incredible luminescent bulbs within you, but part of that playing small, part of that dampening down was, you know, flicking off the switches.
Well, and for me, recognizing and learning how to lay down that conditioning and programming, which is also part of Smarmy's gig.
Right. And shining a light on it helps a lot.
Yes. Because Smarmy don't take too good to light, to bright light, but for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and you can set the, you know, the I am ready declaration. You can do that as you, and you may want to just string moments together, right? So Lisa, you talked about it. You had gotten an email that I sent to you early in the morning, and you actually got it earlier in the day. And there was something about it that you connected with, and you went off on these rockets of desire, to use an Abraham, you know, thing, and you were already playing with it. You were already creating. You were already expanding on that in your own way, in your different ways. And so you had already created an energetic frequency envelope for yourself that you were riding high in and playing all day, right? And then it met the 3 that we opened up here a little earlier. So that's what I'm saying. That's a way to say I'm ready. That's a way to say I'm listening, and that's, you know, noticing and turning on all simultaneously. And then you can then, remember we talked about it, I drew a diagram once a long time about, you know, so you have that sphere, then you can let other things insert things in it. So it sends off bubbles of creation for other things that you were doing throughout the day, because you've already set the tone.
Yeah.
And you've set the structure of that higher frequency vibration. So that's another way you can, you know, play in I'm ready and actually do it. And the listening is just kind of a linear placeholder for languaging. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're listening and your voice keeps saying, okay, can you hear me now? It's
Well, you could do that a little bit.
You could do that, but
in the beginning.
Yeah, but it'll come lots of different ways for different people. And you actually will notice as you trust and listen more and communicate more, because it's not just about listening. It's a conversation.
Yes.
And, it's a pretty one-sided conversation right this moment, except for here's the habit is that it's a one-sided conversation, and you're not doing a lot of participating, so you're not the one side. Except when, please, save me now. Please, fix this now. Please, right? And then you're all ears, and you get something, and unless Smarmy comes up and says, I don't want, right? Then because you gave us that beautiful illustration, Lisa, a couple times of how we come, and then you turn it off. You stop listening.
Yep.
You stop communicating. In fact, you weren't really communicating because you were just saying, make the delivery and don't let the door hit you in the ass.
That's right. Whereas now I see it as an invitation to play.
Yes.
It's interactive, and I want to lead with that part. So I'll even set the intention that I be reminded, because so I'm really good at, I love this idea, right? And then so I'll focus for a few minutes, and then it's like I fall asleep. I mean, not physically, but it kind of feels that way, because all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, where's my focus? Where's my attention? I'm daydreaming. I'm, doing something completely different than what I sat down to do a thing, and I just catch myself, I don't know, going away from it. And so I can see now that I have to train this portion. I don't know if it's of my mind or my ego, but I have to keep my focus and attention under my own control. That's harder than it looks. But the more practice that I have at that, the easier it becomes my frequency set point, or my habitual way to be. Like I would have to forget to be focused and have my attention. So that's where I'm working now to have it so that it isn't as hard of work as what it can be for me to stay with my focus and attention.
Yeah, you're remembering. You're reminding yourself to remember.
Yes.
And that's a key word. It's a trigger word. It's a code and keys within that to remember, because you told yourself many of things to remember for when you're here right at this moment in this conversation that you already saw long before when we co-created it before.
Yeah.
To remember there's something that you're asking, when I'm ready. And the conversation is about, I'm ready. So, look at that.
Hey, here it comes.
and it is a conversation. And the thing that you'll notice more and more as you trust and you flow with it is that, and you come from a more expansive place. And like I said, we're already going there. So the option is not to expand or not. The option is to do it consciously and in a committed way and a fairly smooth flow of it, or do it unconsciously and not in a directed way and have it feel and flow in a very chaotic, bumpy, really uncomfortable way. Yeah,
unpleasant, yes.
Well, sometimes it feels a bit, or it can feel a bit unpleasant, even when you're trying, desperately to direct it, and to get a handle on it, and to be open, and all of that, and specifically in this moment of now, I'm feeling, and have been, we were discussing earlier, that there's this whole vibration, whole body, wholesale vibration thing going on, and there's a part of me that feels that part of that for me in particular is a Okay, so think of an airplane that's experiencing turbulence. There's a part of me that feels that is because as I was dancing around with Smarmy over the weekend, I lay in the bed actually Saturday night. I went to bed around 7:15 or so, 7:30, and because I just was so tired, and I lay in bed, and the vibrating was at such an intense level that I actually thought to myself, okay, well, hope I make it through to this one. It felt a bit touch and go there. I'm not gonna lie. On the old body. I mean, seriously, it was, it's not. I didn't go into fear necessarily because I know that on some level, whatever happens is something that I've chosen prior to this. I mean, in all the times that I have been so very ill and near death, and all those surgeries that I've had, that's not something I fear. So it wasn't that. And it wasn't a fearful feeling. It was just okay, well, I'm noticing this, and it's getting kind of intense here. So I'd like to stay to see what's going down, but it wasn't exactly pleasant either.
No, well, oftentimes make no bones about that. You're absolutely right. It's not. It's hard work. But what? Think of for a moment what's really happening. Yeah. Something is being birthed that's never existed ever in all of Source's multiverses. And all of you is imploding into you in this moment. You of all of your higher selves, you of all yourselves, you of all of the parts of you that's your soul you, as you were chosen, or you chose you, however you want to language it, to be that focal factualized point to come into.
Right.
So, and you can look at the same thing when people say, well, what's next, or why is it taking so long, whether it's a memo or this or that or the other thing. Well, because it's not newsflash, it's not about the memo. It's not about, Pizzagate. It's not just about this, that, or the other thing. You can point in any direction you want. It's what? It's the evolution, the changing of all. So you might think that'd be a little bit complex.
Yes.
Perhaps. It might have a lot of moving pieces, on multiple layers, levels, and dimensions, actually.
All of them, to be exact.
Yeah, right. So there's a lot to flow in there. One of the things there's two things that you were talking about that I think I know for myself have helped a lot and may help others. And one is to give voice to how, staying with the commitment and I got this and the working through and flowing, right? But, ease up a little or trade off a little, or just give me 2 minutes where I can take a full breath. Okay, I'm ready. Whatever it is, so that it shows that willingness. The other thing that's more important, because it helps once you start doing it, it helps before you get into that. And this is a big part of the I'm ready, is that you're ready because you're ready. You're listening and you're ready to connect and have a conversation because that's so. Not because you want something.
Right.
Because, what's in it for me, right? Not because, I'll do this, but I want that. or I need to manifest this, and I want this, and it has to be this way, and so. Doesn't work that way anymore. It hasn't worked that way for a while, but it certainly doesn't work that way now, because you're playing in all of you in multidimensional, and it's about what your soul wants. We've talked about this before. It's what your soul wants, and how that flows, and how you can be of service.
I wanted to, for some reason, it feels important to me, maybe for my own clarification, but I feel more for those that will be listening to and joining this energetic envelope that we have here in regards to the listening. For myself, what I'm discovering is, for me, the listening is, I'm not listening for some voice necessarily that's going to, give me the magic number or the magic phrase or whatever, or that's just going to talk to me. I'm listening to everything because what I have found for myself, and I know this doesn't apply to all, I know that because of some of the videos that I've had with others. But for me, I have found that I am communicating with myself in almost everything around me.
Yes.
In music, in video form, in signs on the street.
But isn't that listening?
Yes, but I wanted to be clear about this because specifically, I've had a video. I did a video with a gentleman who has a Facebook group, and that I shared this, and it's been watched, and there's a bit of a disagreement in that, and I wanted to be clear that for me, I'm not listening for something outside of myself.
Right.
I'm seeing that everything in my field, everything that I come across, including Lisa, including you, are me communicating with me in exactly the moment that I'm.
You bet.
That I need it, and that I am calling it forth.
You bet.
I can see that, feel that, and know that.
That's listening. That's what we're talking about right here. And someone can stand right next to you and look at the same sign, and you can go, I got it. Oh my God. And they're going, what are you talking about? I'm looking at the sign. Oh, it's right. You're hopping up and down there. You're so excited. And someone's going, that sign that says, go walk your dog. Yeah. I mean, isn't it great? Because it's you talking to you. You're listening. And you have ideas, you have different things. Someone can say, oh, that's it. I got it. And people are going, what do you got? What? I'm just like, oh, it's fantastic. And they're going, oh, it's one of those things again, because, but that's okay, because I was the one who was meant to hear it, to hear it on a all level, however that happens at that moment.
Well, that's something that you're absolutely right. And you just triggered something else for me, in that I kind of feel like that's, that verse in the book, the Bible, that those with the eyes to see and the ears to hear, that's exactly what that means for me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It means that I have opened myself up to seeing that I am communicating, my soul is communicating with me personally in every moment of my interaction. I'm open to that, and therefore I have the eyes to see that and the ears to hear that. And I do get it now, and I say to anyone that may listen to this at any moment of now in the future, as it will be this moment of now for you in that moment. And that is what that means for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
But it is I so get that now too, that it is a matter of choosing.
Yes.
And
listening how, forget the ears. It could be the ears, but take them off for a minute. However that works. And the other thing is, it's a conversation. So part of the I'm ready is, start connecting and having the conversation. So, but again, like I said, the habit is, because part of it is indoctrinated through religion and all sorts of things, that, you're asking and, you're pleading or you're getting down on one knee or whatever it is, right? So what I'm talking about is a connection and a conversation where you are subject to one another. You are subject to one another. You do have that connection. You do have that bond. This is your best friend. Think of, on a beyond galactic scale size of, your best friend, the absolute true love right there, in the true sense of love meaning. So when you're having this, first thing in the morning, middle of the day, 52 million times in between those, in the evening before you go to bed, when you're sleeping, all the time, out loud, like out loud. I don't care who's around, out loud. How can I be of service? What would be fun for us to play with? All these kinds of things. So it's not, I'd really like to have $1 million, or, I really want, that's asking. Well, no, that's not even asking, because that's not a true sense of asking. That's, kind of saying, I'm small and I need someone else out there.
Right.
Pay attention. Maybe if I'm good enough, you'll give it to me. Or if you don't, then I can prove to myself yet again that I'm small and I'm not good, and there we go. And who is the I that's leading the conversation with the smarmy hat on there, right? So
I'm smarmy to bed at this juncture.
Right, okay.
Nice.
So that's part of the, that conversation.
Yeah, it's an invitation to play. I like to look at it. Everything's alive and conscious and showing up to play with me.
Right.
Co-creative.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the reason I wanted to make that clear is that for me, it is not something outside of me that is communicating with me. No. It is in no way, shape, or form, because I am having those experiences that I am aware that there are others out there are having as well. Mm-hmm. And for whatever point of choosing that they've chosen, this is something that's happening outside of them, that someone else, an unknown intelligence of cosmic level, is presenting to them instead of coming from within them, communicating with them. And that's fine. That's a playground too. That's perfectly, as far as I'm concerned, their choice. It's just not the playground in which I choose to operate and play in. And
so let's play with that for a moment.
Okay.
So when you're noticing and you're listening and you have eyes to see and ears to hear, and something, you come across something. So from a linear aspect, it's outside of you. You look at it, you listen, I got it. Right? Mm-hmm. So do you play with that the next step? Do you then say, show me more? Or it, starts the genesis of this whole idea, and, I'm thinking of that, so I'd like to see this, or have a question of this, or what do you think of that? Because it's a conversation. So it's not just, you're fully active, fully participating in this conversation, meaning you're putting skin in the game, you're putting commitment in, there's a trust back and forth. There is, like we talked about before, where there's tests to see whether you will go to the not listening pretty quick, whether you'll go dance with Smarmy and, like leave the building or whatever it is, right? And so do you play with that? And so, for example, if you start in the morning and you say, how can I be of service, or what would be expansive for me to do today? And then you go do something else, or I'll just use an example for me. I might feed the dog, or go the first stage of something I have to do at work, and I notice something, I read something, I hear something, I actually hear something internal to me, whatever it is. And if I'm listening, because I did start the conversation, right? Again, because it's a renewed conversation, I'll hear it. And sometimes it can be wholly internal to me. And I think I've said this sometimes before, because a conversation is always going on. So if you ask and then you get answers, you have to be listening or get more of the next piece of the conversation, which is back and forth, right?
Yep.
If you ignore it, have you ever had something where you're texting someone or you're doing a Skype message or something and you're in the middle of a conversation and then you don't hear anything? You're like, well, why didn't they write me back? Well, luckily for you, your soul doesn't, work on the same smarmy frequency vibration of that. And, it's right there with you until, you wake up again and come back to remember. So you can play with it. If you've ever been doing something where you have a thought or there's a voice or however it comes to you, don't do that. The thing is going to tip, or don't go that way because, they're bringing in, the horses and you can't get through. And, you're going along and you're doing whatever you're doing and you hear it clear as a bell because you're used to hearing it now. And you kind of even nod, if someone was shooting a video of you, they'd see a little nod and a smile and you just blow right past that and you get to a certain point and you go, right. And the couple, this happened twice to me and I chuckle and I go, yep, I wasn't listening. Okay, I'm just gonna go right back around to, and I take it as it's another part of the conversation of a friendly reminder that this particular day you're off doing something and swirling. You haven't started dancing with Smarmy, but you're thinking about inviting him back in the state. And is that something you really want to do? All on this little thing that was subtle, no big thing. But you see, if you stop listening or you're not truly hearing, right, however that happens, then it's the next thing and the next thing. Not that someone's doing it to you, but you are now playing in the neighborhood of those vibrations, of those other things that resonate with that.
That's very important for me to have heard. Thank you for that, because I've been doing a shit ton of noticing, but not a whole hell of a lot of communicating. Just, noticing, oh, that was a message from myself to myself, but not opening that two-way connection door for myself. I see that now.
That's what we're talking about here. Are you ready? And would you consider that these are conversations that we're having?
Yes.
And would you consider that there's a connection here?
Oh, yes.
And then would you consider that there's something to the phrase I use of opening up an energetic envelope?
Yes.
So it's palpable.
Yes.
So there's a an interchange, an exchange, a byplay, right?
Right.
Okay, well, why don't you do that with?
Well, good goddamn question. Apparently, Smarmy had me blocked. Because no, okay. I won't.
Because aren't you the chickie baby from Conscious Conversation Central?
Yepper.
Just saying.
Yeah, oh man. Yep.
Well, and you get a little, oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, please continue.
I was just going to say, I get a little kickback when, so I look at it as issuing an invitation to play. And when somebody accepts that invitation and reaches back out to me, there just seems to be this thing that we get going. And I call that completing a circuit. So where something I give out and then I give a little and then I give out and then I get a little and there's this thing that happens. I can feel that when I'm in connection with myself because I have that completed circuit feel. It isn't there's difference when I supplicate versus I have communication. And it's subtle, but it's very, very different in the feel of it.
I witnessed that with you, actually. I'm reminded of okay, so I'm seeing how your operations of yourself in full on connection with yourself during the trial at Knoxville. Yeah. That was a completely new experience for me to witness with you.
So there's that.
But she was listening. So, right, you on some level you asked,
yes,
how can you give service?
How may I serve? What?
Right.
And sometimes I would just say, what do I need to know right now? Like I knew something was coming in, but I just was in hyper alert mode and really listened for when I needed to know something and be aware. And like I get that little, yes, because I get that little inkling and then I'd ask and then I'd look around and the answer would show up and there would be this completed circle. You know, I get that circuit feeling where I asked and I got it. And the more that I did that, the more I could be aware of, the more I could, just my bandwidth grew. It kept growing. And I'm trying to take that level of focus into my mundane life, but my mundane life is so boring, I keep falling asleep. Oh yeah, I'm sitting here. Oh yeah, hang on.
Well, see, that's smarmy coming to play.
Yes, I know.
Oh, you got a smarmy too.
Well, of course I do.
Finally, not alert.
It was super easy for me to say that every moment was important in Tennessee, but my daily life just isn't so important.
Well, my from a linear way, a way to phrase it is my guess it would be, but it's not because it's my knowing that there are many things that in that conversation that are going on.
Yes.
If you actually were trusting that listening of things, you know, go do this, go do that. Let's create this, let's create that. And you may brush them off. You may pretend not to hear them. You got to make dinner. Oh, gee, look at that laundry. You got to fold it. You know, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And that's part of it. And
Yep.
With the Tennessee thing, you were, from a linear level, you knew you were on and you were listening and you were ready, right?
Yes.
And so you could see how beautifully that worked. And yes, it was taxing in some levels, and yes, it was exhilarating, you know, right? Right. So, but you were proving and you held that. Now, what's happened is the communication hasn't stopped. It actually got to a better level.
Yes.
But the move stopped to some
extent. Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's the going to sleep. I keep. Oh, wait a minute. I think I was sleeping for a second there.
And so the same. There's gonna need to be more tests. That's just a linear languaging for it. There's going to be more proving that you'll quit going to sleep.
Yes.
So that excitement that, you know, it's all over the place. There's things to step into and step up and do all over the place. You won't have a minute where you can think of things and be doing. And they'll show up in different ways, you know, not all external to the house or out there or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of different ways that they show up, but it's just that connection. So oftentimes I'll get told, you know, to do something, and I go, okay. And, you know, I stopped a long, long time ago of why or how, or I just, okay. And then, and sometimes, you know, when they're really big, and a lot of them, okay, most of the time they're really big these days, but I'll go, all right, any hints? Like, okay, well, my linear brain says I'm going to need this, 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 and this. I'm on it. I'll figure it out. And any help playing, you know, random things, opportunities showing up that may help, I'm all in. Otherwise, but we've got this, and it's always we. You know,
yes.
We've got this, and we'll do it. And it's the darndest thing, you know. All of a sudden there's an email, or all of a sudden there's a this, or all of a sudden it's completely unrelated, totally out of the blue, disconnected, not on the same path of whatever this, you know, and I said okay to was.
Yeah.
There's something that I can repurpose, or something that I can use, or someone shows up, whatever it is, and if, you know, if I looked at it as, well, that's not going to do me any good, I need this. But if I look at it maybe a little sideways and go, but you know, I could take this and repurpose it, or reconfigure it, or, you know, re-gift it, or whatever, you know, whatever you want to hold it there. And hey, that's exactly what I need for this part.
Yeah.
But that's listening.
Yeah.
That's having that connection. That's having that
active engagement at all times.
All
and
time.
It's harder than you think.
100% of the time, 24/7.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's very clear to me that that's what's been missing for me, is that, you know, I've just started noticing. That was it. It's not like, and just got to the point where I was trusting what I was noticing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's important.
Yeah.
So now it's clear that more of a conversation, you know, like, and the asking,
and the okay.
Yeah.
I'm right on that. I'm getting on that
Accepting.
now. Yeah.
Right. Ask and then accept what you get.
That's like that thing I talked about, you know, you can use different tools, because in that specific exact moment of now when it comes in, and I'm doing this or the other thing, but I have, and they're different for everybody, and I do different things depending on what it is, but I've come up with ways that I can do what I need to do at that moment that I'm doing it, can say, okay, I got it. I actually take action on it right away. I don't take it all the way to the full end of it, but I do take, and I'm talking about, making a phone, a recording of a memo note.
Right.
While I'm doing something else.
Right. That's what we've referred to in these that you're sharing with us.
Right. And flip the page so they can see. Just kind of flip flip it.
These are just some of BZ's nudges that she shared.
Those are just some nudges. Yeah.
These are just some nudges that you, and I will tell you, I'm in awe of this, of that. This is how you, and so grateful that you shared that. As I've said a million times, everybody's heard me say, I'd like to have a camera following us around, because there'll be conversations that are started, and I just know would be beneficial to anyone that had happened upon that energetic envelope, and then it just gets forgotten or whatever, to talk about it later. And I mean, to some degree, I'm sure that it's helpful to the all, because again, I really do comprehend that none of this is happening in a vacuum thing now. I didn't get that at first either. So yeah. I'm actually come a long way in the last few months.
And we're not missing anything.
No, that's right. I get that too now.
But so that's the listening. And you've mentioned that, you mentioned earlier there was a bunch of comments on the Friends of Conscious Conversation Central Facebook. Where you been? Where's the three amigas and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and so that's cool that people like that, and they like to come in, and because they're not just listening to the conversation, they actually are part of the conversation. They're part of the energetic.
They're adding to
That's
it.
why it is what it is. It's very different by design, intentionally, by all of us. Okay, but as Lisa has said many times, when you're doing that, so when you hear something, because again, forget all three of us, forget everybody else, and whoever the you is, that I'm talking to, that you're listening, right? And you go, oh yeah, so you were listening, because that is you having a conversation with you. You just brought it around for this mechanism, which, my linear placeholder might be a sign or a song or whatever it is. It's this part speaking right to you. How many times have you heard or even thought yourself that, they said exactly the thing I needed to hear. Well, gee, there's no coincidences. That's what that phrase means, right? So when you heard it and you go, and it sparks something, and then, it's that nudge. Did you do it? Were you listening? Did you follow through? And that's where the conversation, because the conversation is happening all the time.
Yeah, well, for myself, that what I have noticed is that in that questioning of, did you follow through? That hinges on whether or not you trust yourself. Mm-hmm. Or at least it certainly has for me. And I'm very grateful to myself and to both of you that lag time and that trust is getting shorter and shorter, and in whether or not I'm going to trust something, or whether or not I have trusted myself in a something, whatever it is.
And if you need, if one needs a little, if one wants to look at it from a small, being small, playing small, even though if you don't phrase it that way, but that's what it is, playing small way, a linear way, and you need a payoff. What's the payoff? What's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you is that it changes everything. And what's in it for you is that it expands everything. And what's in it for you is it takes away that a lot of that discomfort. Yes, there's going to be hard work, but hey, you know, unless you want to jump off the planet, that's what you came down here to do, to embody all of this with physical body ascension. And the payoff is that you're in service to love, that you are love and you be love. And the payoff is that you don't even have the languaging or the feeling capability or the emotions to describe, and whatever you would have is so pale of the amazing, expansive, beautifully delicious, fun, colorful, really exciting stuff that is the payoff.
I think I have described just a eensy beensy bit of that. I feel that I know I've described it as standing on the edge of forever. Mm-hmm. Wow, and it feels so huge when I feel that. Mm-hmm. And
so worth it.
Yeah, so huge. And so I think that's why the expansion, the expansive part, that's why it feels like the edge of forever. That's how expansive that feels, because I can feel it right now.
It's that what did I call it, the in the quantum shower video?
Yeah, the galactic sized HD
widescreen TV.
Widescreen. Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And the secret is that you don't do it because you're looking for a payoff, that you do it because that's what makes your heart sing. You do it because that's what you came here to do. You do it because that's how you're of service.
And jumping all in feels really fucking good. Yes, I am not gonna sugarcoat that shit. Jumping all in and doing this in the manner in which the two of you have allowed me and I've allowed myself to play in this playground is so cool. And it feels so good. I don't want to do anything else. Right. This is all I want to do every day, 24/7.
Well, that's good, honey.
Once that actually is grounded in here.
I know, right?
Well, and you know, people, you know, that what made me think about this is because what's happening in a physiological way is the DMT is being released within your brain, and that's part of that, you know, feeling, because you're transcending the limits and the smallness of what had been heretofore your linear carbon-based body, you know, in the duality excuse me, in the polarity role. And you know, all the things that linear construct holds of, you know, drugs or whatever, you know, to make you loose, make you happy, they are so pale in comparison to even just a whiff of a sliver of a, you know, nanoparticle of experiencing this.
Yeah.
Paled by comparison.
Yeah, well, in my younger days, I did acid. So, I mean, I'll admit to that. And I can tell you that I feel, I haven't seen or experienced any of what I feel coming, but I have begun to imagine what this is going to be like. And I can't tell you how excited I am.
Me too.
It gets, it really, you know, I've had a few experiences in my own backyard of this communication, of which, you know, I actually, back when it happened, I was terming it that I've had a couple of elementals present themselves to me. And the last video that we did called Everything Has Changed, when we were talking about magic, I went in search of just a few trailers before bed that night. And one of them that I found was for that new movie, A Wrinkle in Time. And there are a few scenes in that where the flowers come to life and run in the field. And I know that this is what I'm going to be experiencing soon. And I'm so excited about all of that. That's not where we probably meant to go with this, but.
Well, yeah, because it absolutely is, because that's an example. It's a beautiful illustration of listening. And so you were in a conversation. You were not only in a conversation this way, but with all the others in this energetic field envelope, and in, you know, this way in the toroidal with your soul. And you said, "Oh, I'm gonna, you know, I want to do that and play with that." And then you actually went and you did it. And then you took it a step further because you had the thought to think of something you connected, you reached out, gave voice to, and you pulled it to you. Make no mistake about it. That movie in that moment for that segment in that trailer was made specifically you talking to you. Boom, right there.
Well,
and then you connected with the flowers running and dancing.
Yes, and
no coincidence.
No, you're right. Not one coincidence in that. And all I have to do is think about that scene, and I'm right back there again. And it just, it's full on, you know, awe and.
So that's where you can add into this conversation that we're having, where you say, "I'm ready," and you see something like that, or you may revisit it, whoever it is, and say, you know, so dive more into the conversation there. So how can I play with this? How can I be of service? How can I build my muscles again for whatever it is? And a lot of that, because you're now in that conversation within you, you may just think that, you know, your mind thought of this thing. Okay, fine. But you'll have these thoughts of the next, you know, parts of that conversation. So you'll realize that you actually are having a conversation within yourself all the time. You may only notice the sign out there, or the song out there, or the feeling in your body, whatever it is. But when you listen more, when you notice more, when you prove to yourself, and you're not proving to yourself that this part that's communicating with you is your higher self, is your soul. No, you're looking at it the wrong way if one thinks that. What you're proving is to your higher self, to all of you, that your ego mind, aka smarmy, you know, is not running the show, and that you are not going back. You're not slipping back, even if it's only temporary, because temporary is the only state you can be in because you haven't jumped off the planet, right? So you're not slipping back into you're not slipping like slipping gears. You're not slipping out of your predominant frequency vibration of the highest that you can possibly be in each moment. You keep tuning it. You keep getting it back on track. You keep refining it. You keep dusting off the rails, or whatever you want to use as your metaphors, and you keep going. And that's what the testing is about. You're not testing, can I trust myself? You're not testing, is my higher self really going to take care of me? You're not testing, can my soul be trusted? Will my soul get off its ass and provide for me? That's not what you're testing. You're testing the other way around. Am I going to be small again? Am I going to fall asleep again? Am I gonna, be a snot-nosed, smarmy kid again? That's what you're testing.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but boy, that feels a whole lot different too.
Yeah, testing your resolve, your dedication to it.
Your commitment.
Yeah.
Well, at testing, you gave your word. And are you living up to it? I mean, let's be really honest about it and clear. That's what you tested. Because we gave our words. And even in, my darkest hours, and there have been a lot of them, they've been pretty damn dark, and I'd say, no, I'm not going to give up, whatever, because I'd be pretty damn disappointed in myself for not keeping my word.
Yeah.
And I know that was core. I know that was the absolute unshakable fierceness that I've talked about before of that connection and that faith, because, I can just had a whiff of a couple pictures of a couple very, very dark, things. And that was the place that was the place that I consciously, in a linear, cognizing way, chose that. And knowing it was walking through more of agony in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that's where I was supposed to go. That's where I agreed to go. That's where I gave my word I would go. From a bond of love, not from an ego mind. So.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot in this one.
Mm-hmm.
For me. Oh, a whole lot more than I thought. I don't think we've ever had a conversation.
I think that's a theme.
I know, right? I don't think we've ever had a conversation where it hasn't been a lot for me to take.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
Yeah, and so then within yourself, just to finish this out, so do you play with that a lot? Do you not, I don't mean do you play with it a lot, as in I play with that a lot, but do you play with that a lotness? Do you play with and converse with and have a connection with that a lotness? Do you take that a lot that's there that you just gave voice to, and do you take it to the next step? Do you take it to the next expansion? Do you take it to the next higher frequency level vibration that a lotness brought to you? That's what that conversation, this is what this conversation is about, that conversation with you, if that makes sense.
No, it does. In this moment of now, I don't think I was in a position to see that until this moment. And to some degree, not to blame Smarmy, but I got a feeling Smarmy might have been in the way a bit. And so again, I'm sensing this, this connection with myself that I've been hiding from myself, although I don't quite comprehend why I've been hiding it from myself, but
because there's no turning back.
No,
because you can't play small anymore when you stop hiding it.
Oh, is that what it is? Why in the world would I want to continue to play small?
Because Smarmy wants to.
Okay, well, I don't want Smarmy. I really don't want Smarmy running the show.
All righty then.
All right. That's it. So give voice to it and make it so. It is that simple. Can it be excruciating difficult sometimes? You bet. But it's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's what this whole thing, starting on Thursday, has been about for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right up to this moment of now,
Mm-hmm.
is calling Smarmy out, completely calling Smarmy out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Smarmy.
We have your number now. The gig is
about
up.
to be on the job. Wow.
So help him transcend, help Smarmy transcend, help Smarmy transition up, and let the smarminess go and the higher mind come and the partnership flow and the conversations roll, and keep saying okay and then do.
Yes.
Be in the conversation and then do.
Yeah, don't just sit back and notice it. Actually,
Well, it's a step.
Yeah, but noticing is huge because you can't.
Well, yeah, noticing got me this far, but now it's time. It's time for me to start actually, I don't know,
Actualizing.
on a conscious conversation. Oh, there's a thing, huh?
Why not? Yeah.
Thank
you, ladies.
And the only thing, because it popped into mind, is that, it can be as, talking about as simple as, so when you ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
when you're having a conversation and you want some information, you want to be it's more of not, tell me X, Y, and Z, but be in the flow of information and expansion. That's the way I would phrase it. And so an example of that, and I didn't even think of it on a linear cognizing level, right? Where I'm going to think to have a question to ask, and then I'm going to go ask it, right? It wasn't like that. I just, it was early in the morning and I started taking a shower. I just thought I was taking a shower to get ready for work, right? And I had the thought, to ask the question. I asked the question out loud, and, if people want to, then go play with that, because we had a really fun time. Actually, the conversation continued, and actually it opened up in the envelope for all of us to be part of the conversation. But so I just want to put that in here at the end is because amazing things happen, but you are the self-genesis. So it's an inside job. You've got to speak it out loud and have the conversation.
Yes. A conscious conversation with yourself.
It's good stuff.
Wow. As usual, always amazing with you ladies. Thank you so much. Both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Any final words, either one of you? No?
Not really. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I will say.
Thank you, BZ.
Okay, yes, thank you, BZ. There will be links to both BZ's blog at the IUV and Lisa's two blogs, Heart Song Musings and Rush Solutions Tools for Transformation, along with a link to the Friends of Conscious Conversation Central Facebook page. And please join there if you'd like, along with my email address. If you'd like to be a part of the, again, new Quantum PPC squad, please email me and put add me in the subject line. And all of that will be in the body of this video. Thank you. And please, if you would like, comment on how do you listen? Are you communicating are you in a conscious conversation with yourself, if you feel so led to do so. And if not, and you want to just send me an email, that's cool too. So thank you, ladies.
Good night.
Till next
Good night.
time.